What's up, YouTube? Vantmare here. Doing a new deck profile. Finally finished what I kept talking to you guys about. A lot of you guys in the comments on several other videos asked what the next deck project I was going to do. Sorry if it's slightly loud. I've got the fan going. It's hot as hell in my house. If you hear crinkling, the wife's eating a giant freaking honey bun. She apparently has to show you guys this honey bun. Check this honey bun out. It is like 700 calories worth of delicious.
Here, comparison.
Yeah, deck size, honey bun. So, this is the basic best way I wanted to do this. Is it's the most expensive possible deck that I could make, other than my tournament deck, that Riku Rush that I played. It's just a really expensive deck, and it's really strong aggro. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this. Start off with the one Sora. It's the Awakening Sora. It's not an easy promo to find. Most promos are not easy to find, but this one's particularly difficult to find, I guess. I had a friend hit me up with it, and I'm really happy he did. So, because it's gorgeous art. So I was looking for it for a good little while. I don't need to say how long, just because it was a while. Get into the actual deck. 2 Sora Valor form. It's control aggro. So Sora Valor form gets you into being able to pitch off your goofies and then start doing 1 extra damage every turn. And it's a really strong start. If you open Goofy with the Valor form, you've got a really strong start to the game. Also, you are not playing anything above a level 1 friend card, so you should be able to draw through your deck pretty quickly and be playing friends down. And you're going to be controlling your board size and your opponent's the entire game. Next thing is going to be 3 Owl. This is one of the big control cards for the deck. No player can play Magic Friend cards at any time. Magic Friend cards are one of the biggest aspects of the game. When you take away your opponent's ability to play Magic Friends, you basically take away one of their abilities to even play the game. Because Bambi's a huge part of the game. Back when this game was alive, every deck almost had 2 to 3 Bambi in it, because almost every card had the ability to magic spam. There are so many cards like Aladdin people just teched a 1 or 2 of just to be able to play Bambi in almost every deck. So he's a huge part of this deck. It cuts down Bambi's, Dumbo's, Tinkerbell, Genie, which Genie's a massive attack boost card, so you basically cut the Aladdin deck's knees right out from under it. Next card is Chippendale. He lets you reset your entire discard pile, so if you've had to discard something you didn't want to discard just to get to your other outs, or the rest of your deck, that at this point you are making sure that you are getting to the rest of your deck without having to sacrifice much. Let's get into 1 copy of the King. Really hard to find card. I basically had to take, I only own 1 copy. I had to take it from my main deck, my tournament deck, the Riku Rush, just to be able to put it into this deck. He's a one of. If you're playing any deck, if you own this card, you better be playing it. I don't care what deck you're playing other than Heartless, where you can't play it at all. You play him down, search your deck for any card, and add it to your hand. You don't care what it is, you are just searching it out with the King. And then these are a couple of personal deck techs for more control aspect. You've got 1 copy of Captain Pete. Captain Pete makes it to where anytime any player shuffles their deck, that player takes 1 point of heart damage. Just really good. This deck only shuffles once every here and there. It has 3 to 4. It has 5 cards in the entire deck that make you shuffle your deck. But other than that, you really don't worry about it. And his only 4 heart points is not that big of a deal, especially if you start the game with the Valor form. You don't care, because most of the time your opponent's not going to be able to get over you for a good while. And then the last level 0 is one of my favorite personal techs, is an Alice. During each player's discard phase, that player must discard one of their in-play friends or magic friend cards. So she's a fantastic little card. Let's go ahead and get to the level 1s. That is all the level 0s. Every one of those cards is a searchable by one of the cards later. Then you get Fill. Fill says neither player can use magic cards at any time, meaning as long as Fill stays in play, your opponent, with how much you're beating their teeth in with this deck, your opponent is not, and I repeat, not, going to be able to play Curas. They're not going to be able to play Gravigas. They're not going to be able to play Gravities to try to kick off their own effects. Such as things like Sally in Jack Skellington. Fill is a fantastic card when partnered with the Owl. I mean, at that point, your opponent can't play magic cards, your opponent can't play magic friend cards. You have cut down 2 cards from their deck. At that point, they have to beat you by aggro, and with Valor Form in the deck, your opponent most of the time is not going to beat you by aggro. And what I was talking about at the beginning of the deck is why it's so expensive is, if you'll notice, every card in the deck so far and every card that can be foil is foil. So, next, to make sure that you get your Valor Forms going, you play 3 Goofy. Goofy makes sure that your deck is going to be live. Valor Form is going to be live at all points. Then we have 1 Sid. Sid is a fantastic card, especially in a deck like this. When you're controlling everything your opponent does, you need to make sure you're controlling your own hand size and what cards are coming into your hand. So if you've already got a Valor Form live and you've got an extra Goofy sitting in your hand, you can play Sid down, pitch it, get a card you might not have had. Or if you have, I mean, sometimes in all decks you're going to get a bad draw. In all decks at some point or another you're going to get a bad draw. Sid lessens those dead draws. Next point is Peter Pan. Peter Pan's a fantastic little card for control aspect. He's going to make sure that at any point Stealth Sneaks are dead. Stealth Sneaks are dead. Behemoth is dead. Cerberus are dead. I mean, technically he doesn't kill Cerberus just for the fact that Cerberus's effect is a kickoff that you have to even to battle it. You have to put up 3 friends. But Behemoth, Behemoth dies to it. Behemoth says you have to place all Behemoth, I'll get to it later. So Peter Pan makes sure Stealth Sneaks are dead because it gives them a blank text box. And then my last personal deck tech is a Pinocchio. If you know your opponent's sitting on something really powerful, really strong that they're going to try to use against you during your challenge phase, or your when you go to challenge them, so say your opponent held a Soul Eater, or say your opponent held a Ultima Weapon against you. You play down Pinocchio, pitch Pinocchio, and then declare that card name. Your opponent reveals their hand, so even if you are wrong, your opponent reveals their hand, and you discard all copies of that card that were sitting in their hand. So if you're playing against another aggro deck, and they are ready to drop a Valor Form, but they're waiting to do it because they think you're going to beat them, you call Valor Form, and you win. So it's a fantastic one of tech. I love it. It works. It's always worked. I used to play it in almost every deck, and then it just came down to the fact of room, so I cut him from almost every deck I played. But and I've talked about keeping deck counts low. Almost every deck I play plays about 47, 48, 49 cards in them, just because with Kingdom Hearts, with you being able to draw your hand back up to 6 every turn, you don't care about deck size most of the time. This deck is only 45 cards. It is my lowest deck count of all 8 of my decks. It's really good. Get to the level 1, level 0 world. It is 100 Acre Wood. It is the only level 0 world that was ever printed for America. We were going to get a couple more from Japan, but we got screwed on being able to get the card game going. When it comes into play, both players have to discard their entire hand, and dark cards cannot be played on this card at all. So the reason this is amazing is, again, it's almost just like Pinocchio. If your opponent's sitting on a hand size of 3, 4, 5 cards, and you've already got a ready Valor Form, and your friend area is already set up, you can drop that 100 Acre Wood, challenge your opponent with no fear, because they have no cards in their hand, and you are ready to just beat their teeth in. don't care. So 100 Acre Wood's a fantastic card. Get into the level 1 world cards. This searches all of your level 0s. Destiny Island level 1. You don't play anything in this deck. This deck is not a world racer. I mean, it can be if you wait 13 turns. You play 14 worlds in the entire deck. 14 or 15 worlds in the entire deck, one being a level 0, so it doesn't even help you world race, it just gives you a heart point. But if you wait 13 turns, you can world race your opponent. But the reason we play so all low-level worlds is to make sure that your opponent cannot get rid of those Heartless from their hand, so they have to forcibly pitch them to try to get to the rest of their combos, and once you actually reach that level, all their Heartless are gone. Destiny Island searches every level 0 in the game in your deck as soon as you play it. As soon as this card comes into play, search your deck for a level 0 friend, add it to your hand, shuffle your deck afterward. So, card is fantastic. Then you have 3 more level 1s, all 3 Disney Castle. Disney Castle says when this card comes into play, you draw a card. You cannot play Disney Castle over Disney Castle to world race for your turn, and no dark cards can be played on this card. So, fantastic card, especially in a control deck where if you've got 3 levels of world, you play this, your opponent's not dropping their Stealth Sneak on you. If I sound really excited about this deck, it's because I am. It's a very, it took me a little while to build it. I've been talking about it probably for the last 2 or 3 months, trying to get it built, maybe 4 months. I just could not get it built, and I apologize about that. With the move, I had no money to put anything together. The wife and I are saving up because we're going to be having a baby trying to have a baby next year. So there's a lot going on to why I could not put this together. So, but we finally got everything stable. I ordered stuff. I have friends that hit me up with things like this and a bunch of other cards. I just got the rest of the cards in the mail from a friend of mine named Dave today. Thank you so much, Dave, for helping me finish this deck. Brian, you helped me trade with this deck. Thank you guys so much for hitting me up with this. Dave, you are the inspiration for me to want to build this deck just for the fact of you traded me this card. I wanted to build something gorgeous, and with this card being the head player card, it's gorgeous, the deck's gorgeous. Thank you so much for hitting me up, guys. You guys will notice in my deck videos or anything, if somebody hits me up and helps me build something, I will always call them out because they were such a huge help to me. I'm not gonna just be silent about why they were a huge help. Now we're gonna go into Timeless River. When this card comes into play, both players discard the lowest level friend card in their friend area. Now, with you playing level 0s, level 1, and only level 1s, you don't care. Problem is a lot of decks will thin themselves down to just a Sephiroth or just a Cloud. And if you play this after the King, you can discard the King, because the King stays into play until the beginning of your discard phase. So, he's a level 0. Pitch that level 0 off this. Because if you have the King and an Owl, if you have the same level friends in play as the lowest, you get to choose which one of those lowest level friends you have in play and don't care. So pitch the King off Timeless River, and then reset it later with Chippendale. Free searches. So Timeless River is pure control. Then we get into Monstro. Monstro is a really, really solid and really strong card. What he does is neither player can have more than 3 friend cards in play at any time. When he comes into play, if either player has more than 3 friends, they have to discard friends to get themselves down to only 3 friend cards. So if your opponent is loaded up on friend cards, you drop Monstro, they have to figure a way to cut their friend area down to only 3 cards. Most of the time, your biggest thing is you're going to be sitting on an Owl, a Phil, and something else, and you don't care from there. You really don't, because you're going to be switching up with Monstro, and then the next turn dropping another Monstro. And if at any point you discarded a Monstro, you're going to search that Monstro right back. The only thing I would do if I did anything to this deck is I would switch my last world card with Monstro. That would be about it. but I like my last world card. It's personal tech, and it is Olympus Coliseum. You get +2 attack value while fighting any Heartless cards, any dark cards placed on this world card. So, if you have a giant behemoth sitting on your table, or a Cerberus, or anything like that, and you've already Peter Panned, that thing's a blank text, and you're getting +2. So if your opponent's trying to just beat it, make sure you don't get any of the rest of your world cards played down to get into it. Like, they don't want you playing more Monsters. They don't want you playing more of this card, Timeless River. They don't want you playing that. You basically beat that thing's teeth into the ground. And then we have a one-of equipment card. It's Oblivion. It's just really good. It's a +3. So you start out as a +8 with that, or you're going to a +12. Or you're an 8 attack value with this on just your regular player card, or you're at a 12 with Valor Form. 2 more attack cards. Fairy Harp. This card is amazing. I can't tell you guys how much amazing is in this deck. Because you can't play Sephiroth, there's a lot of times where you can possibly get beaten on attack value. So basically, you're going to sit on it until you've pushed up every one of your friends, and your opponent's basically pushed up every one of their big friends. You play Fairy Harp. Your attack values at that current moment are switched. So if for some reason you are at like a 36, and your opponent, after so much friend cards and everything, is at like a 43, Fairy Harp switches that. So you're at the 43 and your opponent's at the 46, or yeah, a 43 and your opponent's at the 36, you win. Because they've already played all of their cards down. You win that fight. Fairy Harp is such an amazing control card for a deck like this because you just don't care. 3 Oathkeeper attack cards. I just wanted a good, solid attack card that was not easy to come by. These things are not the easiest rare to come by when it comes to a card, because it was only base set, never reprinted, only as an equipment card from there. And if you battle a Heartless with it, you gain a health. It's amazing. It's fantastic. Now the 2 one-ofs that you are limited to 1-of in a deck, Oblivion, +10. That's all you can say about it. And then you get the Ultimate Weapon. Again, really hard card to find. It's part of what they call the Big Four. Cloud, Sephiroth, Ultimate Weapon, and King. Real hard cards to find, but worthwhile cards to play. Except in Roxas or Heartless. You can't play either. But it's +13. Fantastic card. When you beat a Heartless with it, you get to draw 2 cards. It's a great card. And one of the most controlling cards in the entire game, Stealth Sneak. Now, a lot of people didn't realize it. This card at the end of the game got an errata that said any damage done to this card by battle and by magic is reduced to 0. Anything else you do to this card kills it. So people asked about that when I said that Creeper Plant kills this thing. It's because Creeper Plant is an outside of battle and magic card damage card. So they kill that thing. It's really good. It's, even though it has that, it got that errata, it is still the best Heartless in the entire game, in all honesty. Behemoth, the reason I'm not playing the other version of Behemoth is this version I wanted a lower level Behemoth to make sure that even if my Stealth Sneak dies and they level world race, even like by 1 level, I can make sure that I drop my Behemoth on their world. It's a fantastic card. If your opponent would battle this card, when your opponent declares a battle against it, they have to put up every one of their friends / magic friend cards to battle against this card. And that's why I say Peter Pan can be used against Behemoth, is because when you declare the battle, you push up your Peter Pan first, and then that negates the Behemoth's ability. Unlike Cerberus, where just even to declare an attack battle against the Cerberus, you have to put up or at least 3 friend cards to battle it. Whereas Behemoth just says, when you declare battle against this card, put up every one of your friend cards. So if Peter Pan is the first friend card put up, it automatically negates the rest of the effect to where you don't have to put up anything else. It's just because of what order you put everything up. but Cerberus says to declare the battle against it, you have to put up 3. So Peter Pan doesn't negate that effect. And Cerberus is a cloud killer. I've said that every time I put it up, and it's because it is, and Cloud's a card. Amazing. And then my last one, it is amazing. A lot of people even forgot this thing existed. For when they start getting higher on levels, Wyvern. It is a 15 POW, so I mean, it can be beaten pretty easily, but if for some reason your opponent forgets about it and starts only thinking about your attack value because of what you're going to be sitting at with your Valor forms and everything, if this thing is on your opponent's world card during his or her end phase, your opponent will lose 1 heart point. It's fantastic. You not only could be doing up to 3 damage per turn, including this and your Valor form. So, and I know you guys are going to ask why I'm not playing more than 1 equipment card. And the reason is very simple. 1, room. 2, I don't feel like anything more than what I'm playing is that needed. So in all honesty, I don't feel like anything more than what I'm playing is needed, just for the fact it is working. It works really well. So if that's what you guys are curious about, I don't need more than the 2 to make sure that the deck keeps going and works well. It's just a very, very control-based deck. So let me know what you guys think about the deck. I would love to hear you guys' opinion. It's a fantastic little deck. I've tested it multiple times. I'm going to get some games against this. One of the games that somebody requested was a very strong Sora deck. Since my main deck is Riku, they wanted to see a very, very strong Sora deck facing off against Roxas, since Roxas at the end of the game was the best card in that format. Or best deck in the format. And both play very low-level friends and Magic Friend, not Magic Friends, that deck can't play Magic Friends. Both decks play very low-level friend cards, and the Samurais, and both can get really high on attack power. So I will be doing a deck, or a battle video. Sorry, when something's not perfect with a deck, it bugs me. I will be doing a battle video with this deck versus Roxas. So keep your eyes out for that video. I know this video has been a little bit longer, and I apologize about that, guys. I just wanted to really go over what this deck can do, because it is a fantastic deck. I wanted it to be gorgeous because I don't want to show anything off but the best to you guys, because there's a lot of people that love seeing the real foiled out, the real pretty decks, and when it comes to a lineup like this, you don't really get much prettier. So I will catch you guys later. Peace, guys.